So we're now on the second part of the season 6, which gets very interesting. I'm out of screwdriver space in my pocket. Let's kill Hitler. This was basically the birth of River Song. Which worked. It was fine. I quite enjoyed it. It was fun. We romp. They also bring in the Tesselector, which is a robot, a human-sized robot that can change its shape to be anyone it wants, and that is driven by lots of little people, which is very silly. But quite fun at the same time, very, very out there. It was quite amusing. And the fact that they poked fun at themselves and were like, it's a robot driven by little people, that's really funny, makes it quite workable. The big thing here is that they turn around and say that the silence isn't a race, that the silence, as we know them, the big scream alien people, aren't the silence, but they're almost like the ringleaders of a cult known as the Silence, which is cool, and that makes more sense after my whinge about, when they killed them in the Day of the Moon or whatever it is, where I'm just like, you just killed an enemy you've been going on about for an entire season. And that kind of fixes that. But we could have done with knowing that a little earlier, guys. Maybe like, episode 3. After we all got so disappointed that you killed off the main enemy. Anyway, moving on. Let's kill Hitler. That was fun. Big geeky thing here. River Song gives all her regenerations to the Doctor. Now, I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but is it just me, or have they just written the loophole we've been waiting for what's going to happen when the Doctor hits his 13th regeneration? Fun stuff. Should be interesting. They probably haven't. They're probably not going to use that because that gives them, they have an excuse for a quest there. They have an excuse to do all sorts of cool things. But it's there. Just wanted to throw that out there. The Doctor has got more regenerations in him now because River gave him all of the hearts. So, just saying. The next story was Night Terrors. Anything important in Night Terrors? Not really. Not that I can think of. It's about an alien child who's a cuckoo. Nothing worth complaining about or geeking out about though. So, moving on. The Girl Who Waited. Hugely good performance by Karen Gilliam. Playing the old and new Amy, the young and old Amy, I should say. Obviously, one of the things with The Girl Who Waited is that Amy kind of has to learn that the Doctor makes big sacrifices, and horrific sacrifices, i.e. he sacrificed her. Maybe metaphorically, but almost literally, the Doctor has to play hard sometimes. Also, Rory basically tells him that he can stick his head in a pig. And that leads us to the God Complex, which of this part of the season was probably my favourite. Anything worth geeking out about? Yes, the Doctor's room. It was room number 11 with the cloister bell ringing in it. The cloister bell ringing, it obviously rings when the TARDIS is in deep shit. The 11 can be speculated loads of ways. First of all, 11th Doctor. Second of all, the 11th hour, which comes in later on, is the big sort of tease at the end for next season or for whatever, which is the 11th hour and the question that must never be answered. So yeah, the 11's quite interesting. It's quite good. The big thing with this is obviously that the Doctor has to break Amy's faith in him, which is cool, and then he drops them off home safe and sound. I was kind of hoping that Amy and Rory died horribly. That might just be me, but yeah, I think they've done really well, and it's been fun having them, so I think they should die brutal, horrible, disgusting deaths, because that just leaves a mark. Because you don't want them to die, because they're great fun, so let's kill them off horribly, because it's hilarious and it'll, shock everyone and make people cry, and that's great. That's what you want. You want to move people, surely. This is Doctor Who. We like sticky ends. But yeah, he drops them off safe and sound, and it felt okay. It felt sensible. It felt like he kind of knows. He's learning his boundaries, that he can pick up assistants and have fun with them, but then he has to let them go. So, that was okay. Anything else about the God Complex? Yes, the Horns of Nimon or something like that. It's a Tom Baker story, which is the Minotaurs actually kind of from. Go and find it. It's terrible. It's really, really bad Tom Baker Doctor Who, and yes, the Horns of Nimon or something, and it's about Minotaurs taking over as well, and it's terrible. So anyway, but it's nice to see them linking back as well. Final thing actually, which is really funny, is if you look at the photos on the wall in the God Complex of the people who have previously died, they do have a picture of the producer, it's one of the producers on the wall, which I just thought was a really nice little bit of fan service. Yeah, we killed the producer, it's hilarious. So, then we have closing time. Again, Cybermen, hooray! I like Cybermen. Anything terribly geeky to geek out about? Yeah, they brought back the Cybermats and the Cybermen. Apart from that, it was just a filler ep, but it was a fun filler ep. I had a good laugh with it. And then we have the final episode. This was the episode that was going to make or break this series, because they had a load of questions. But it worked, and it worked nicely. Some geeking out to do with this one, which is always nice. First of all, I've got to say that obviously the way the Doctor defeated death is he used the Tesselector. Called it. I called it within a... Not during the series, because obviously they made big guesses on the Flesh, and I kind of didn't see them using that because they'd kind of already done the Flesh to death, the tricks with the Flesh. So what they did do with the Tesselector, though, the big flaw that gave it away to me, where I was just like, they're using the Tesselector, there is no argument in this, they're using the Tesselector, is the previously on Doctor Who bit at the start, where they're obviously telling you the story of the silence and stuff, but they do the Tesselector, and it makes sense for them to have the Tesselector going, they're not a race, they're a cult. That makes sense. But then they go into what the Tesselector is. They go, it's a robot that can change shape with tiny little people in it. And as soon as they did that, I went, that's what they're using, because they have no reason to explain what it is, apart from the fact that they're going to use it. So the previously on gave it away, but they used it in a clever way, so it didn't bother me that I kind of guessed what it was, because they revealed it very nicely. I enjoyed the reveal, so that was cool. What happens in this episode? Obviously the time streams get misaligned, and so time all stops and runs together. It would have been quite fun, if you ask me, if they brought back the demon things from season 1 with Chris Eccleston that are eating the holes in time and like because Rose saves her father. It'd be nice to have seen them about it. I was a bit like they've created a paradox. Where are they? Surely that's what happens when the paradoxes happen. They've established that, but you know. What happened was cool. It would have just maybe been nice to have seen them flying about a bit. Never mind. We find out that Amy can kill people. Is willing to kill. She is that bloody minded and determined that she kills the eye patch lady for turning her daughter into a monster and keeping her prisoner and etc. And yeah, leaves her to a brutal demise, which is nice. I like that. The Doctor weds River Song, we knew about that. The whole River Song thing is now over, we know who she is. We don't have to muck around with her anymore. We now just have to worry about them having fun and turning up and having adventures together, and that's cool. Which will be nice. What else do I have to say? Yeah, I like the teaser for the next for the next series, I should say, the 11th Hour, and they've been saying this throughout the series. They've said it a couple of times. The question that must never be answered, the first ever question that is staring you in the face, and I was like, oh. Ooh. I was like, ooh, very, very Douglas Adams, very 42, awesome. And then they ask the question. They don't ask the question. They state what the question is. They say what it is, and the question is, Doctor Who? Who is the Doctor? And I freaked. I love that. I love the way they did it. The first ever question. The first question asked. The question that's staring you in the face. And when the question is answered, silence will fall. Because when the question is answered, we still don't know who the Doctor is. We've been told so much about him and we still have no idea. We still know so little about him, and once it is all answered, then there is no reason to continue the series. Obviously, they're not going to do that. I think it's more. I don't think it's a question. I don't think they're going to tell us exactly everything. I don't think Stephen Moffat has the audacity to write an entire back plot to the Doctor. Because if he did, I'd be really angry because he just ruined the whole concept of the series. But I just like the question. That's such a cool question. I think they're going to have him doing some trials or something like that. I have a question, actually. Amy can remember being in the time paradox. When? That's the question. When does she remember this? Because obviously the time paradox happened as he died. So when does she remember? Because she had to remember it throughout the thing. She doesn't go, you guys got married and this happened and that happened, and she doesn't, so how does she find out, just randomly remember all of this, sitting drinking wine in her garden after the Doctor's dropped her off and she's become a perfume model? I hope the new season is going to relax a bit more. I think they were a bit too overkill with this one. We'll see.